killing niggas, man. Word up, man. Voting ain't gonna help us, man. Marching ain't gonna help us, man. Protesting ain't gonna help us, man.
What it's like for a nigga like me.
Like me.
What it's like for a nigga like me.
Like me.
What it's like for a nigga like me.
Like me.
What it's like for a nigga like me.
Like me.
What it's like for a nigga like me. Gray skies overhead just isn't looking likely, but I try to do the right thing like Spike Lee, and I talk to God, the one and almighty. Lord, please have mercy on me.
Have mercy on me. Yeah.
Lord, please have mercy on me.
Have mercy on me.
Have mercy on
Man, this
me.
shit ain't no joke, man. This shit ain't no joke. Like the boy cried wolf, I ain't blowing no smoke. You don't gotta look far to see it ain't no hope in this fucked up world. I'm just trying to stay afloat. I grew up in the ghetto in the middle of the streets, H-E-L-L, the belly of the beast. Thanksgiving came around, I wasn't having no feast when the landlord talking about breaking out lease. Goddamn, what's next? My girl broke it with your boy and she did it in a text that if I couldn't have nothing, that I could have love besides love for the money and selling these drugs. Sometimes it seems like it's the only way out, but every day I'm getting older and it's getting played out. Can't end up in the pen trying to find a way out. Lord, forgive me for my sins, what my heart gave out. My dad died, biggest loss I ever had to take. He a big part of the reason I'm the man I am today. And moving on was a move I wasn't trying to make, but I got sons now, so I gotta lead them not astray. And even though success is looking unlikely, I stay mighty and pray nightly and remain doing the right thing like Spike Lee, which is hard in this life for a nigga like me. All my life I had to fight like my name's Sophia. Always had heart and in my heart was no fear. Boy, I stayed in some trouble always stay near. When you black in America, that's all you cold here, I can't lie. Some days I wanna break down and cry for me and my people that's fighting to stay alive. Cause living ain't living when you living to survive. Guess we living in hell till the heavens arrive. Nah, I mean,
What it's like for a nigga like me.
like me.
What it's like for a nigga like me.
Like me.
What it's like for a nigga like me.
Like me.
What it's like for a nigga like me.
Like me.
What it's like for a nigga like me. Gray skies overhead just isn't looking likely, but I try to do the right thing like Spike Lee, and I talk to God, the one and almighty. Lord, please have mercy on me.
Have mercy on me. Yeah.
Lord, please have mercy on me.
Have mercy on me.
Have mercy on me. What it's like in this life for a nigga like me. Every day I gotta fight my demons. Wake up, thank God I'm breathing. Cause all nightmares, America's dreaming. Trying to find a way to make it while surrounded by heathens. No stress long as I got a coat and I'm eating. I'm blessed and I know the Most High's the reason. But my heart's bleeding through my sleeve is seeping. For all the things that I've been peeping. Type of shit make you say fuck it and sleeping. Cause while you were sleeping during the evening, for brothers got gunned down over the weekend. Stretched out in the streets left leaking. Laid out white sheet, mom's grieving. All lives gotta have more meaning than another nigga dead in the paper I'm reading. Baby mama bitching every time that she's speaking. Talking like she gonna take the kids as she's leaving. How we go from kids to ending up in the deep end. Sink or swim, lose or win, saint or sin. Where does the change begin? And when does the bullshit end? Cause I wake up in the morning, gotta do it again. Go to sleep, go to work and just do it again. Damn. Can't pretend, cause when you stand out, it's hard to blend. And what I stand for, don't fold the bend. Cause I heard real folks still got too many friends. Cause when you speak the truth, then you tend to offend. So, while I'm gripping this pen, Lord, please have mercy on me. Amen.
It's time for my people to come together and rise up. The only way we gonna take our royalty back, man, is if we do just that, man. Take it back. Kwame Yashala, nigga. It's time for us to rise out of our oppression. A wise man told me each one teach one. So I need you to reach out to your brothers and sisters and teach them, man. There's no reason we should still be getting hung from trees in this day and age, man. Lord, please have mercy on me.
These are producers' reactions to the samples in the producer growth kit.
We get outside, nigga, outside, on the west and we outside. We outside with it. That temperature's getting hot, we take it outside. You run your mouth up in the store, we take it outside. I got my killers with me, you won't make it outside. Outside, cause we outside. Before the COVID had the mask and we was outside. The Glock loaded, extra mag and it's outside. There's one West for that bag and we outside. We outside. I got the world in the palm of my hand. One West sleeve stretch, do it live on the gram. Had a whole world viewing. Click and subscribe. Had them niggas off the block, tell them shooters they want a job. I just put them on the payroll. When I get control them, I just mold them like they Play-Doh. Soldiers giving halos, trying to get up at them pesos. 40 cows send you out of space, Jeff Bezos. And Jeff Bezos, leave you all boxed up. All cause my delivery, I be on that prime shit. Take you time to get with me. Got me like Vladimir, treat you like the Ukraine. Raid your little city, now you boating like Usain. Scope costs more than the rifle. I got new aim, fresh kick, spit with the blick. Not my shoe game. Used to have a dirty 30 tied to a shoestring. Now I got the Ruger 5 and 7. That's my boot thing. That temperature's getting hot. We take it outside. You run your mouth up in this club. We take it outside. I got my killers with me. You won't make it outside. Outside, cause we outside. Before the COVID had the mask and we was outside. The Glock loaded, extra mag and it's outside. There's one West for that bag and we outside. We outside. That temperature's getting hot, we take it outside. You run your mouth up in this club, we take it outside. I got my killers with me, you won't make it outside. Outside, cause we outside. Before the COVID had the mask and we was outside. The Glock loaded, extra mag and it's outside. There's one West for that bag and we outside. We outside. I don't talk hardly. Be there when you call me. Send them Philly clippers at your head like a baldy. Chopper get to run down your block like a Harley. No, this ain't a big hog. This the big dog.
In your city, swinging through the jungle like it's pitfall. In the water wading, marching to my cadence. Big burst of thunder in my hands like I'm reading. Shitty Mortal Kombat sounds, but I ain't playing.
Look 'em in the eye before the war like a weigh-in. I'm up in the AM, politicking movements with that Draco from the vid because it's proven. Waiting on my brother how to bid, he ain't do shit. That's how life go. Win some, you lose. Seen a little nigga beat a big nigga out his shoes. Seen that nigga come back, pull up with a gun strap, rob everybody outside, told him run that. We outside. That temperature's getting hot, we take it outside. You run your mouth up in this club, we take it outside. I got my killers with me, you won't make it outside. Outside, yeah, we outside. Before the COVID had the mask and we was outside. My Glock loaded, extra mag and it's outside. It's one West for that bag and we outside. Outside, yeah, we outside. That temperature's getting hot, we take it outside. You run your mouth up in this club, we take it outside. I got my killers with me, you won't make it outside. We outside, and we outside. Outside, yeah, we outside. We outside, yeah, we outside. There's one West on them corners and we outside. We outside with it.
We found Sprizzy through Hi, everybody can hear me. Hi, Shalom Israel. This is Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under the Community Junior Hunter. And since 1969, we've been teaching that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the true Hebrew Israelites according to the Bible. And that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, it is time for us to wake up out of our hell, because we've been in captivity for so long. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we've been trying to join with these other nations for over 400 years. For over 400 years, we've been trying to go up to these nations and ask for forgiveness and try to forgive and forget for over 400 years. And where has it gotten us? Absolutely nowhere. Well, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, it's time for you to realize that you are not like these other nations. You are different from these other nations. How you operate is not like these other nations, because they operate on a different level than you do. But trying to join hand in hand with these other nations is like oil and water trying to join together. Us trying to join them it's not compatible. We're not compatible to be able to join with these. And for over 400 years, we've been trying to join together, and it hasn't been so good. It hasn't been great for us to join together with them. It's actually destroyed Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, because we were not meant to join together. Because Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, You are different from these other nations, and they are different from you. They don't operate the same way that you do. They operate on a whole different level than you do. Actually, a lower level than you do, because you are higher than them. You're supposed to be operating on a separate level than all the other nations on the face of the earth. But when you don't get taught that, you won't understand it. And when you don't get taught that, you end up doing what we do today, trying to join with your oppressors, trying to join with your enemies. And it's not compatible. But Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, what we need to realize today is that you are the most special people on the face of the earth. You are different from every nation on the face of the earth. We're going to get that. Hold on, Mario, bear with me real quick, my bad. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are not supposed to join with these other nations. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 3, because Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are completely different from every other nation on the face of the earth. I mean, the Lord separated you by yourself. He separated you away from all these other nations, and he told you not to make any marriages with these people. He told you not to join with them. What's up? Come on. He told you not to join with these other nations. And that's why in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3, it says this: neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we're not supposed to make marriages with our oppressors. We're not supposed to join with them. And hey, go. Come on, go. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native, you're not supposed to join with your oppressors. You're not supposed to join with them. And why? I'm gonna keep on reading. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son. I mean, you shouldn't give your daughters unto their sons to be able to marry, to make babies, because the Lord said not to. He told us not to make marriages or to join hand in hand with these people. He also said, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. And people wonder why, like today, our people don't understand why. They don't understand why we're not supposed to join with these other nations. And they go around doing it anyways, not knowing that these are your enemies. But also, if you go on to verse 4, my bad, for they will turn away thy son from following me. The Most High says it right here. He says, when you join with these nations, they will turn away your daughters and your sons from falling away from him. They will go and serve their gods instead of serving the Most High. I'll keep on going. That they may serve other gods. And that's what he's saying. Now, this is why we shouldn't join with these other nations or make marriages unto them. Because when we do, it'll turn us away from the Most High. It'll turn us away from serving the Most High and serving their gods. And that's another thing that the Most High told us not to do, was to serve other gods. He told us not to serve other gods. He told us to serve only him. That he's the only God that we should be serving. But when you go out and you go to another nation and you marry your sons and your daughters unto them, they'll end up transferring and serving their God instead of the true God, which is the Most High. They'll end up going and putting their God down or their culture and going to do their culture or follow after their culture, which the Most High does not want. He does not want us to join with them. He does not want us to join hand in hand with these other nations, because you are supposed to be different from them. You're supposed to be separate. And we'll get it further into that, actually. We'll go to verse 6. This is the book of Deuteronomy. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. And holy is from the Lashon Kodash, or in the Lashon Kodash, just means to be separate. It means to be separate because blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you're supposed to be a separate people. I'm going to keep on going. The Lord, it's like, I'm going to start all over. Verse 6, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, what you need to realize is the Most High chose you to be a special people. He chose you to be a different people unto himself. He didn't choose you to be like everybody else. He didn't choose you to go off and be like Tom or like Brady or like these other nations. They're not like you. They're on a whole different level. We're not the same. The Lord thy God had chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. See, what you got to understand is the Most High chose you to be a special people, to be a separate people above all people, not above some or just some of these nations. He chose you to be above all nations that are upon the face of the earth. He chose you to be above all of them. You are supposed to be the ruling class, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You are supposed to be the ones having the multi-million-dollar companies. You are supposed to be the princes and the princes. You are the ones who are supposed to be ruling over all the other nations on the face of the earth. But you can't do that when you learn a lie. When you learn, when you learn from a nation that is out to go against you. And that's what these other nations are. They're trying to go against you, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. They're not for you. They're not here to help you or to be with you. They're not here to join hand in hand like you want to join hand in hand with them. They're actually here to go against you. See, the Lord made you the most special people on the face of the earth to be above everything, above all that is on the face of the earth. We'll get that in 2 Ezra chapter. Okay, this is the book of 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 54. And after these, Adam also, it's like, so Adam is, you know how everybody says Adam, everybody came out of Adam? Well, everybody did come out of Adam. But in this scripture, it's talking about a special people that came out of Adam, and then a regular people, or the other nations that came out of Adam. We'll get it in there. This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 6, verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures. See, the Lord had made Adam Lord of all the creatures on the face of the earth. He made him Lord of pretty much everything that was on the face of the earth. Of him come we all, because we all come from Adam. Everybody comes from Adam, right? Well, that is true. And the people also whom thou hast chosen. But what people don't understand, what your Christian church doesn't understand, that there's a chosen people that came out of Adam. There's a chosen people that the Lord chose to be separate, to be different from every other nation, to be the rulers over the earth. That's who the Most High chose a special people unto himself. That's what he did. And these other nations, they realized that, and they didn't like it. They were jealous of him. I'm going to keep on going. Verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. The Lord had made the world for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. He made them to be able to rule the earth, to be able to go out and to serve the Most High on the earth. Verse 56. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, but as for the other people who also come from Adam, the other nations that come from Adam, this is what the Most High thinks of them. Thou hast said that they are nothing. The Lord said they were nothing. The Lord doesn't care about all the other nations. The Lord only cares about a specific people, and that's the Israelites, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today that get treated and mistreated so evilly by these other nations. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today, we get treated so harsh. We get treated so harshly by all the other nations on the face of the earth. So the Lord has said this, thou hast said they are nothing, but be like unto spittle. They're like spittle. So you have some whenever you're speaking to somebody, right? And that little spit you see come out of your mouth, or that little drop of spit you see flying out your mouth. The Lord has said that these other nations that you see every day, that you think are so amazing and so powerful, these nations that everybody thinks can never be brought down or can never be destroyed, the Lord said that they were nothing, but be like unto spittle. The Lord does not care about these other nations. When you have spit come out of your mouth, that little droplet that comes out of your mouth, you don't care about it. You don't worry one little bit about it. And that's how the Lord thinks about these nations. He don't have no worries for them. He doesn't care about them. But also, he also said, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. Wow. You carrying a vessel, right? And then it's full of water. With that little drop that comes out, you carrying up a hill, right? And you're struggling, and those little droplets are falling out. And those little droplets are like these other nations. They're like nothing. You don't worry about that little droplet that falls out of the bucket. You don't. And that's how the Most High sees these other nations, like a little droplet that falls out of a bucket or a vase. He doesn't care about them. He doesn't think twice about the woman. He doesn't. The Most High sees them as nothing. And these other nations realize that. These other nations realize that this nation of people have a real God. They have a real God that actually serves them. It's like they have a real God. They have a real God that they actually serve. They have a real God that is real and can actually do damage, unlike their idols, their fake idols, because they don't have God. These other nations were meant to serve Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Get them, Judith. Like, okay, real quick. Judith, chapter 5, verse. See, what Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans don't understand is that whenever we keep the law, statute, commandments, the Lord protects us. The Lord keeps us safe. But whenever we break them, the Lord is not on our side. The Lord is actually punishing us for the things that we do, for the decisions that we do against the Lord. This is the book of Judith, chapter 5 and verse 17. And whilst they sinned not before their God, they prospered. See, the other nations realize that when we sinned not, we would prosper. We would do good. Let me read it again. This is the book of Judith, chapter 5 and verse 17. And whilst they sinned not before their God, they prospered. We prospered. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we did good. We would win battles. We would do amazing. We would prosper. We wouldn't be getting killed all the time. We wouldn't suffer. because we were keeping the law, statutes, commandments. Whenever we keep the law, statutes, commandments, we don't suffer. We get blessings instead of curses like we do today, because today we get curses for breaking these law, statutes, commandments. Because the God that hateth iniquity was with them. What these other nations understood is that whenever we kept the law, statutes, commandments, God was with us. That the Most High was with us. Because he hated iniquity, because he hated whenever the Most High hates whenever we sin against him. So whenever we sin against him, he is not with us. But whenever we keep his law, statutes, commandments, he is with us. I'm going to keep on going. Verse 18. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, see, when we departed from the way that the Lord gave us, when we departed from the law, statutes, and commandments and broke the law, statutes, commandments, it says what? They were destroyed in many battles, very sore, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs. And the temple of their God was cast to the ground, and the cities were taken by the enemies. Man. So when we didn't keep the law, statutes, commandments, we lost battles. We were destroyed. We ended up going into captivity when we didn't keep the law, statutes, commandments. And that's what these other nations realized. They realized that if we can get them to sin against their God, then we can destroy them. We can have power over them. Psalms. And these other nations, they realized that if we sin against the Most High, that they could come up against us. But when we kept the law, statutes, commandments, they knew they couldn't come up against us because they knew that the Lord was with us, that the Most High was with us. But that's why they had to teach our people a lie. They had to teach our people that God loves everybody, that Christ did away with the laws, so that they can get our people to break the laws and be able to come up in our seats, be able to come up in our high state. Because once we broke those laws, we went down to a low state, and they would be able to come up to a high state and rule over us. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83 and verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. Verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. See, what they understood is they had to come together and be able to take crafty counsel against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to be able to bring them down, to make them, or they had to come up with a way or a plan to be able to bring blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to be able to sin against their God. They had to formulate a plan that would get us to believe that the laws were done away with. They had to formulate a plan to get us to believe that God loves everybody and that Christ came to die for everybody. They formulated that plan. And I was like, I'm going to keep on going. And consulted against thy hidden ones. Verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. They came together and decided that they wanted to cut blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans off from being a nation. And that's pretty evil. That's pretty evil. They wanted to cut blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans off because of the jealousy they had of us being great and being the chosen ones. For us being different, because we were different from all these other nations. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we didn't celebrate what they celebrated. We didn't do what these other nations did. And all these other nations saw that, and they were jealous of it. They didn't like us being separate. They didn't like us doing our own thing. So they had to come up with a plan to be able to join us all together, to be able to get us to do what they do, to be able to get blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to serve their gods, to be able to follow their culture, to live the ways that they live. They didn't like, they didn't like us not serving us like they didn't like us not doing what they do and not following after them. So they had to come up with a plan to be able to get us to do that. And that's why they came together and came up with God loves everybody and came up with their system to be able to destroy blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And that's exactly what they have done. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today do not know who they are. They don't know that they're from certain tribes. They don't know that they're Israel, that they're the nation of Israel. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans do not know that today. And today we learn lies. We learn from our oppressors, and it has destroyed us. They have came together to destroy blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and it has worked. It has destroyed our people. And now we have lies. We don't have our culture. We don't know who we are. We roam around and we take the colors. It's like we take the name of colors. We take the name of African and American. Those aren't our names. We take the color. It's like we take the name of black. That's a color. We are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we have no idea who we are. All right. Verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent. All these other nations, they came together with one consent to come against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to formulate this plan. They all came together to come against you, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And that's what our people need to realize. That's what blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans need to realize today, because us not knowing who our enemy is has destroyed us. It has destroyed blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, because now we sitting around here thinking that they're our friends, that we can be peaceful with them, that we can come together and love one another. But the truth is, we cannot do that. We cannot. Trying to join blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans with these other nations is the same as joining oil and water together. They can't combine together, and it will never happen. The more we try to combine with them and try to think that they're gonna change for us, it's a fairy tale. It's never gonna happen. And blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we gotta stop, get out of this dream that we're trying to live in, this nightmare, because this dream is getting you killed. It's destroying our people. And blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans need to realize that us joining together with these other nations is never going to work. I mean, we've been trying for over 400 years. I mean, where has it gotten us? I mean, we still get killed on the streets. We still get murdered. I mean, we all these things still happen to us. Our families are split up. I mean, our Hispanic brothers are over there at the border being split up from their kids. I mean, our people are destroyed. It's not helping us. I mean, we need to come together, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Actually, let me get there. And blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we are destroyed. We don't know who we are. This is why it says this in Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. They don't know who they are. They don't know that they're the Israelites of the Bible. They don't. They don't know who their enemy is, and they don't know what to do. I mean, whenever times get hard, our people are going to be struggling. Our people are going to be freaking out. And the only way to learn the truth and be able to be calm and be able to be know what's going on is here in the Isupk. Is coming up in the Isupk and learning who you are and learning what's going on. But it's crazy because we learn a lie from our Christian church. We learn a lie from the Christian church. We learn all the lies from the Christian church and from our oppressors. And we've learned to hate each other. We've learned that hate is a love and love is hate. We've learned the opposite of things. But when we come out here and try to tell you the truth, because we actually love you, we're actually coming out here to show you love, you now perceive it as hatred. You now see it as hate. And you know what? Actually, because thou has rejected knowledge, because you reject knowledge, we come out here to tell you the truth of what's going on, but you keep on walking by and you reject it. Our brothers and sisters, we come out here it's like brothers and sisters in brothers in the Isupk. We go out and we try to teach our people the truth of what's going on. We try to show them love. And that's what we do every week. We try to show our people what real love is and what's really going on. I mean, if I have not loved you, would I not tell you? I mean, shoot, if I didn't love you, I wouldn't even tell you the truth. I wouldn't tell you what's going on. Okay. Oh, come on. I wouldn't tell you the things that are going on. I would just let you struggle. Right. I would let you go out and fall off that cliff. Right. But because we love you, you know what we do? We come out here and tell you of the things that are going on. We come out here and tell you of the dangers that lurk around you every single day. But because thou has rejected knowledge, you reject it all the time when we come out here and tell you. And you perceive it as hate now. You perceive love to be hate.
That's right. Hosea 4:6.
Come. Oh, come. I'm ready.
You want to read it from the top?
Come.
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
See, blacks, Hispanics, and everyone, you are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And you don't know who you are. So it'd be your best bet to get up in the Isupk and learn who you are. And learn your culture. And learn who your enemies are.
Right.
Because if you don't know who your enemies are, then you will be destroyed. Your enemies want you to be able to come up to them and try to forgive them for all the things that they've done to them or done to you. It's like they want you to be oblivious of the things that are going on. But blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that is going to get you destroyed. That's what's going to get you to receive death.
Right.
But we want you to receive life. So it'd be in your best interest to get up in here.
That's right.
You can keep on going over.
Because thou has rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee.
Hey, the Lord said, because you rejected knowledge, you reject the knowledge of us when we come out here and try to teach you the truth of what goes on. You rejected love, the love that we try to show you. The Lord said he would what?
Reject thee.
He said he would reject you.
That's right.
He would reject you. Whenever you whenever you want to try to go out and celebrate all these other holidays, the Lord is going to let you be killed.
Right.
He's going to let these evil things come upon you. And it's not going to be a happy day.
Right. Good.
Oh, come.
What this brother is bringing out is heavy because at the end of the day, every time black people get into some jam or somebody die, what they always say, why, God? Why? Why me, Lord? Why you took my baby? Why you did this? Why you did that? He's rejected you. That's why. He rejected you, and that's why these bad things are happening. But why did he reject you? Because you rejected the knowledge. You rejected to follow his words and to hearken unto his law, statutes, and commandments. So now you rejected the knowledge. Now he reject you. So all these bad things, he let all these bad things happen to you because you're not under his protection. So that's what he's bringing out right now.
Come. That's true. You chose that path. I mean, the Lord did set before you life and death, but our people want to choose death instead of choosing life. That's crazy.
Right.
He sets that blueprint right out in front of you. But you don't want to build that blueprint. You want to build you off your own knowledge, but you don't know how to build, which is the crazy thing. Oh, it's like, oh, you can keep on going.
That thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
Dang, since you forgot the laws of the Lord, since you forgot how to not hurt your brother, how to not kill your brother, how to not hate your people, the Lord said what?
I will also forget thy children.
He will also forget your children. He will let your children be killed whenever they try to go get you groceries to go celebrate Thanksgiving.
Right.
He will let your children be killed whenever we all trying to celebrate Christmas. He would let them be killed. And you will, like Officer Dawada said, you wonder why. Like you ask God why. Why me? Why is this happening? But you chose that path. You chose the death. You chose the judgment. I mean, you chose to do those things, but now you have to receive that judgment. Damn. Oh, can you get verse 7?
Verse 7.
Come on.
It's the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 7. As they were increased, so they sinned against me. Therefore will I change their glory into shame.
The Lord's going to change your glory into shame. He's going to make it shameful for you to live these ways. You think you over here living the righteous way and doing the right thing, but the Lord said that he would change those ways into shame because you're blinded. You really don't know what's actually going on. I was like, can you go Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1?
Come on. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass that if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day.
Hold on. See, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, what you don't understand is the Lord said it in the Old Testament. He said that if you would hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God and actually listen to his voice and actually followed his commandments. I was like, did we get to that part?
Which one? Yeah.
Oh, come.
To observe and to do all his commandments.
To observe and to do all his commandments. But he would do what?
Which I command you this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
The Lord thy God said he would set you above all nations that are upon the face of the earth. But our people want to choose. They want to choose to be below everybody. They want to choose to go out and sin against the Most High and to be below all these other nations. They want to choose to be like every other nation instead of being separate. It seems like our people, they don't want to be different. They don't want to be special. They just want to be like everybody else and live normal lives and basic lives like everybody else. They want to be exactly like all these other nations. But the Lord told us not to follow after these nations. He told us to be separate because he chose us to be that way.
That's right.
You can't go off of your blueprint. You can't go off of your it's like, what do they say?
Intuition.
Gut. It's like, you know how you were made or something, like you were made a certain way.
Instinct.
Oh, la.
You can't go off of something.
Like you're you can like off track. Like you know how like a robot is made to do something, he would go off track.
No, I'm not sure.
Oh dang, I forget that. Well, you can't go off of what you were made to do. You can't do that because the Lord made you to be different from everybody else.
Right.
But then you want to go against what the Lord says.
Right.
You're not above the Lord. You can't choose your own path and your own way. because then will the Lord not be with you? Can you get verse 15?
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt hearken, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
See, now if we didn't listen to the Lord, or the voice of the Lord thy God, if we didn't listen to his voice to follow, it's like keep on going.
To observe and to do all his commandments.
No. To do. It's like actually, this is the wrong one. To do all his commandments. If we didn't listen to his voice to do all his commandments,
right?
I keep on going.
And his statutes.
And his statutes.
Which I command thee this day, that all these curses.
Hold on. Some of these curses.
All these curses.
No, just one curse.
All these curses.
Hey, all these curses
shall come upon thee.
Would come upon you if you didn't keep the Lord's laws, statutes, commandments.
Right.
Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, what you need to know is you can't do what these other nations can do.
That's right.
You're different from everybody else. You don't have the same restrictions that they have. You have different levels. You're on a higher level than every nation on the face of the earth.
Right.
And you can't operate the same way that they operate. You are special, and you're supposed to be ruling over them. Meaning you have to act a certain way. You have to present yourself a certain way. And the Lord made you to keep his law, statutes, commandments. He gave blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the law, statutes, commandments. He didn't give it to every other nation. He didn't give it to them to follow. He gave it to you because you are different. You are special. You are different from every other nation on the face of the earth. And the Lord wants you to act like it. Right. He wants you to take your culture and be different from every other nation. Right. Because he wants you to be separate among them. He doesn't want you to join with them, to be hand in hand with them. He wants you to be separate from them.
Right.
I was like, did we finish it?
And overtake thee.
See, if you didn't follow these laws, statutes, commandments, the Lord gave you he would give you curses that would overtake you, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Right.
These other nations, they don't have that. They don't get curses because they were never given the law. Actually, it's like, can we get that? Which one? It's like, which one is it? The only have you only have I known? Come on, yeah.
The book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 1. Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel.
Oh, children of Israel. He didn't say everybody.
Right.
He didn't say all the other nations. Right. He said, hear this, O children of Israel. He was talking to the nation of Israel. Keep on.
Against the whole family.
Against the whole family. Because we are a family. Right. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are a family. These other nations are families of their own. They're different families. They keep on.
Right. Which I brought up from the land of Egypt. Saying.
Oh.
You want to go to the next one?
Come.
You only have I known of all the families of the earth.
Oh, no. The Lord knew everybody.
You only have I known of all the families of the earth.
No. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the Lord only knew you. The Lord only knows you of all the families of the face of the earth. And like we were saying in it's like it was the one no, it was 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 50. The Lord, he doesn't know all these other nations, and he doesn't care about these other nations because they're nothing to him.
Right.
He only knows you, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You're the only one that he chose and that he knows. So how can God love everybody when he only knows a certain family? He only knows a certain nation of people. That's something your Christian church cannot answer. Right. Because they're not learning according to the Bible. They don't know that the Most High only knows a certain nation of people.
Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities.
Therefore, he said, when you break the law, statutes, commandments, he would break. I mean, it's like he would punish you for all your iniquities.
Right.
I mean, he didn't say he would punish everybody. So when you try to join hand in hand with these other nations and do what they do, I mean, these other nations, they live a whole different way. They're operating on a whole nother level.
Right.
They don't have the laws to follow. So whenever they go out and break the laws, they don't get punished. But when you want to act like them and follow them, and you want to break those laws, statutes, commandments because they're breaking them, you get punished for it.
Right.
Unlike them, because they don't get punished for it. You do. Because the Lord said, you only has he known. You're the only one that he knows. So he punishes you because he told you not to break these laws, statutes, commandments. But when you learn from the Bible, when you learn it from a nation of people that stole your book, that stole your culture, you learn it the wrong way.
Right.
You're learning from your oppressors who are not, it's not their book. It's not their book to be able to even teach you. It's your book, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Is there any more on it?
No, that's it.
Okay. Can you get Jeremiah chapter 14? I was like chapter 17, verse 4.
Say it one more time.
Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4.
Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
Oh, the Lord is saying we would discontinue from our heritage that he had given us because we decided to go off and break these laws, statutes, commandments. We would be discontinued from following following our heritage, getting our heritage. It's like, keep on.
And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies.
Man, and he caused us to serve thine enemies. And this is exactly what happened. I mean, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, when we broke the law, statutes, commandments, we were sent on slave ships to be sold by our enemies. And now we go and we served our enemies. We had to serve our enemies because we had broken the law, statutes, commandments. We keep on going?
In the land which thou knowest not.
Yeah. We in a land that we do not know.
Right.
In America. We don't know this land. But I mean, we're scattered all over the earth. And because we decided to break the law, statutes, commandments, we had to go and serve our enemies. I was like, keep on.
For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever.
Right. Can you get Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1?
Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. Gather yourselves together.
Hold on. What do Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans need to do?
Gather yourselves together.
See, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, what you don't understand is we need to gather together. Our people need to gather together because we have to this day, we have a hard time loving each other. We have a hard time coming together and trying to love each other. So they had to say it. They had to say, tell us to gather together because we look at each other and we despise each other nowadays. You look at your brother, you see him as an enemy. I mean, really, that's your brother. You should love one another. It's like, can we get that actually? To love one another.
The book of John, chapter 15. The the book of John, chapter 15, verse 12. This is my commandment, that ye love one another.
This is the commandment that Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans were given, to love one another. See, what our people don't understand is we have something that other nations don't. I mean, our power, our weapon is brotherhood.
Right.
And these other nations, they don't have that. Because when we come together, when we start loving one another and we keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, we are unstoppable. We have the Most High on our side. We are unstoppable. But when these other nations don't have anything. They don't have their culture. They don't have a law. They don't have any of that. And they were jealous of it. So they had to steal it from you. They had to steal your culture, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, because you have the greatest culture on the face of the earth. You're supposed to have the greatest brotherhood on the face of the earth. But us not knowing who we are and learning from our enemies, we have been destroyed. We don't know who we are nowadays,
Right.
because we have decided to learn and to forgive and forget about who we were. We forgive and forget these our enemies, and decided to take on their culture and their gods, and we forgot about our God and our protection, and we lost it.
Right.
But Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, when you keep the law, statutes, commandments, when you keep the Most High, when you keep your culture, you have the Most High's protection. You have a wall that protects you from your enemies. But without it, we're nothing. Right. It's like, can you get it's like learn not the way of you. I'm gonna pull that one actually. I was learning. I do. Oh, hold on a second. Let me find it.
Curriculum for today.
Oh, come. We went through. I was like, oh. Okay. Because Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, this is what we shouldn't do. When we go out and we learn from our oppressors, we shouldn't do that thing, because the Lord had told us not to. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, instead of learning from them, we should learn from each other. It's like we should learn from the men of the Lord that the Lord sent, which is here in the Isupk. Okay.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, verse 2. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
Man, he said to learn not the way of the heathen. But we learn from the heathen every day. And where has it gotten us? We've been learning from the heathen for over 400 years. You send your children to school, and they're learning from our oppressors. They're learning about your oppressors and how great your oppressors are, but they're not learning about who they were in the past. They're not learning about how great they were in the past.
Right.
They're learning about how great their oppressor is and how amazing they are. And it has destroyed our people. I'll keep on.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
I was like, start from my top again.
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
So what we should do is learn not the way of the heathen. We shouldn't learn the way of the heathen. We shouldn't learn their ways, their way of life, and their cultures, because all they have done is destroyed our people. I mean, the way that they think and operate is completely different from Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. It's different. And this is why we shouldn't learn from them, because they are murderers. They're thieves. They're people who go out and commit these atrocities. And when we learn from them, we learn how to break the law, statutes, commandments from the Most High. We learn how to. I lost it. We learn how to, there it is. It's like we learn how to hate each other. We learn how to do these atrocities against each other when we learn from them. So blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, what you need to do is stop learning from your oppressors. Stop being like them because you are not them. You're not like them. You are different from every other nation. And that's why you need to separate from them and come together and love one another. That was Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 31.
No, that was Jeremiah 10:2.
Jeremiah 10:2. Genesis chapter 25, verse 27.
Genesis 25 and what?
27.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 25, verse 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter.
See, this Esau, which is the progenitor of our oppressors today, the so-called white man. I'll keep on going.
And a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents.
I was like, can you start over again?
Genesis chapter 25, verse 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter.
Esau was a cunning hunter. Man was a cunning hunter. He was a man of the field. This man formulates plans to come up against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to this day. He studies his opponent, and he has studied blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to be able to put us down because we were such a mighty and great nation. He was jealous of that, so he wanted to bring us down, and that's what he did. He decided to take it upon himself to study and learn our ways to be able to keep us from doing our own ways, to be able to follow after our own God. And that's why he gave us the laws are done away with. Like Christ loves it's like that God loves everybody, and that the Old Testament is done away with. That's why he gave us those things, because he came up with the system to be able to destroy blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And it has worked. It has worked. It has destroyed many families and many of our brothers and sisters, because now today we are still out here believing that God loves everybody, right, and that Christ came to do away with the laws. But those things aren't true. And this is why we need to gather together and stop envying and learning from our oppressors. We have to learn from the men of the Lord. We have to learn from Christ himself. Learn from Christ, because he was a great brother, and he knew that his people were supposed to be a special and separate people. Unlike your Christian church, they want to join everybody together. They want to join hand in hand with your enemies. They want to lead you right into the mousetrap. But blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you shouldn't follow after him. You should follow after Christ, because your oppressors, your Christian pastors are not saying what Christ said. They're not teaching what Christ taught. They're teaching the exact opposite. Can you get Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24?
Matthew 15 and 24.
Come on. Because everybody Christ understood his people's problems. He understood that his people were different from these other nations, and that we had to separate from them.
So the book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
And this is why Christ said what he said right here. He said he was not sent. No, actually, he said he was sent to everybody. I was like, can you read it again?
But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
He said he was not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Right.
So it's crazy how your Christian church is telling you that he was sent for everybody, and Christ came to die for everybody. But that's a system that your oppressor has put up. That's a system that he has gotten you to believe, and it has worked because it has destroyed millions of people It destroyed millions of our brothers and sisters. It has destroyed the way that they think and they operate. And we should stop loving these other nations. We should stop looking up to them. We should follow after the way that the Most High actually wanted us to follow. We should follow after the blueprint that he gave us, instead of trying to go off on our own way and our own knowledge and try to serve these other nations. Because that's what we're doing right now. Whenever you break these laws, when you want to go off and serve that white Jesus, you're serving your oppressor. Like, but these people's, their way of life, their way of brotherhood is poison to us. The way of brotherhood is harmful to us because we're not the same. We're different from these people. You see these people, they go out and they live completely different lives than we do. We go out and we have style. We are different from the way that we dress. We talk different from them. We do everything different from them. But when they go out, they're plain. They go out, how they speak. They all right, my name is Tom. But when we like, what's up, man? How we greet each other is completely different. We're different from them. We're different from these other nations of people. We all have different the foods that we eat. We all have different music. We all have different lifestyles. We're not the same. And Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans need to realize that, because we cannot join together with these other nations. We're not compatible to be able to join with them. And the Lord made it like that for a reason. He didn't want us to join hand in hand with them. He wanted us to separate. But us learning from them is completely destroying us. It's destroying our households. It's making us trying to join with them is making us vulnerable to be able to be picked off one by one. It's keeping us destroyed. It's keeping us asleep, because you learn their way of you learn the Christianity, and it has completely put you to sleep. It's like a drug that you can't get off, and it's really hard to get off, because you think you're doing things right. You think that living their way of life is right. You're putting on a suit and tie is right, but that's not your way of life, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You are different from these other nations, and you got to stop acting like them and act like who you really are and follow after your culture. Can you get Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 31? Proverbs 3 what? 31.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 31. Even thou, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways.
See, and this is why we need to envy not thou oppressor. Because when we choose after his ways, it destroys us. It's completely destroyed our people to follow after his way of brotherhood and his way of life. Because we think we want to be the same as him. And we're not compatible. We're not the same. We're two different people. We're two different nations of people. And your oppressor wants you to join with them and everybody to be the same. But that's not how it works. That's not how the Lord made it. Your oppressor trying to go up against the Lord to try to go against what he wants. Because your oppressor wants everybody to join together, but the Most High wants everybody to be separate. He wants you to be separate from these other nations. I'll probably end of that. So can you get Matthew chapter 5? So like say 12 and verse 25?
Matthew 12 and 25.
Okay.
So look at Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. And Yahweh Shah knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. And every city or house divided against itself shall not stand.
See, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Oh, it's like that's the wrong one. My bad. It's like. My bad. Can you get Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 2? My bad. It's like. Okay. Oh, no, I think I put the wrong. Damn.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 2. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you. That's not the right one.
Nah. Damn. Hold on. Damn.
Just start from the top on.
Okay. Just start from the top?
Yeah, top of whatever you was breaking down from earlier.
Oh, I was shoot. Okay. Can you go to Deuteronomy 7 and 6?
That's deep.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people.
See, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we need to realize that you are a holy people. You following after these other nations is not going to work. It's not going to. The Lord had made you a holy, or it's like holy just meaning to be separate. He has made you a separate people. So how can you be a separate people when you're following after these other nations? It doesn't work. I'll keep on going.
Unto the Lord thy God. For the Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people.
See, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are a separate people unto the Lord. He chose you to be a separate people. So joining with these other nations is not going to work. Because you are different from them. You can't join together with them when you're supposed to be different from them. When the Lord have made you different. He made you different so that you could be separate from them. So that you could rule over all these other nations. Oh, can you get 2 Ezra chapter 6 verse 54?
That's deep.
Chapter 6, 54.
Oh, God.
It's the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 6, verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all.
See, now this is what people in the world try to say. They try to say that everybody is the same. That we all came from Adam. We all came from Adam. Well, yes, we all did come from Adam, but there's a what? It's like, can you?
Of him come we all.
Okay.
And the people also who thou hast chosen.
See, he said there's a special people that the Most High chose. There's a special people that He chose to be different from everybody else.
Right.
He didn't choose them to be the same as everybody else, but also, well, it's like keep on going.
Verse 55.
That's deep.
And all this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes.
And the Lord made the world for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Right.
He made the world for them, not for everybody. It's like keep on going.
Verse 56. As for the other people, which also come of Adam.
Now, as for the other people that also come out of Adam, because everybody says that everybody came from Adam, and that is true. But for the other people that come of Adam, this is for the other nations. I'll keep on going.
Thou hast said that they are nothing.
The Lord said they were nothing. They're nothing. But like what?
But be like unto spittle.
But be like unto spittle. The spit that comes out of your mouth.
Right.
These nations are not. They're nothing. But be like unto spittle. You're not worried when you have spit that comes out of your mouth. You're not worried about it. You're not tripping over it. You're not. You're not tripping over it and that's how the Most High thinks about these other nations. This is how He thinks about them. I was like, keep them.
And has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
You ever carried a bucket of some sort or like a vessel with a bunch of water in it, and then like a little drop comes out?
Right.
You're not worried about that little drop that comes out. You're not trying to catch it and trying to get that little droplet back, because you're not worried about it. And that's how the Most High thinks of these other nations. He's not worried about them. He looks at them to be of like a drop that falls from a vessel. Nothing.
Right.
Not worried about it. Not trying to get them back. If anything happened to him, he's not worried about it. He's like, all right, no sweat. He's not worried about it. These other nations are nothing to him. I was like, is there any more on it?
That's it.
Oh, can you get Judith chapter 5 and verse 17?
Judith
Come.
5 and what?
Verse 17.
Judith chapter 5, verse 17. And whilst they sin not before their God, they prosper.
See, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. What you need to realize is these other nations, they realize that when you kept the law, statutes, commandments, you would prosper. You would prosper when you kept the laws. It's like, keep moving.
They prospered because the God that hated iniquity was with them.
These other nations realize that when you kept the law, statutes, commandments, the Most High was with you. You would prosper. You would win battles. You wouldn't be killed on the streets. You wouldn't be suffering. None of these things would be happening to you because you were keeping the law, statutes, commandments, and our people would prosper. We would get blessings instead of the cursings.
Right.
And that's what our people don't understand today. They don't understand that when we keep the law, statutes, commandments, we get blessings. We stop getting killed on the street. That if we just kept these law, statutes, commandments, the things that happen to us today, they wouldn't happen. We wouldn't be getting killed on the streets. We wouldn't be dying by our oppressors. We wouldn't be getting, we wouldn't be getting STDs if we kept the law, statutes, commandments, because then you wouldn't be going out sleeping with with whores.
Right.
You wouldn't get the STD because then you didn't commit the act. We wouldn't be selling drugs to us. We wouldn't be getting killed from drugs because we wouldn't be selling drugs to our brothers. If we kept the law, statutes, commandments, and we didn't sin against our God, we would prosper. We would stop suffering. But I was like, keep on going. Come.
Verse 18. But when they departed from the way which he had appointed them.
But when we departed from the way that the Lord had appointed us, it's like, keep on. When we broke the law, statutes, commandments, when we went out and sold drugs to our brothers, when we slept with whores, when we did all these things, it's like, keep on going.
They were destroyed in many battles, very sore.
We was destroyed in many battles. We was destroyed and killed and murdered.
And were led captives into a land that was not theirs.
And we was led captive into a land that was not ours. Did that not happen to us? I mean, the Lord did say, it's like Deuteronomy. Please, can we get that actually? The Deuteronomy. We come. Let's see.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
And see, when we didn't keep the law, statutes, commandments, and this is what would happen to us. We would serve our enemies. We would have to go and serve our enemies, like what happened to us in slavery, because we didn't keep the law, statutes, commandments. We ended up serving our enemies. It's like keep.
Which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness.
Man, we were sent against thee in hunger and in thirst. I mean, we go to them for all of our food. Do we not? I mean, they own all your grocery stores. They own all your fast food restaurants. They own it all. I mean, they own your Walmart to be able to even get clothes. They own your water, your water supplies. They own it all. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native, you don't own any of that. It's like, keep on going.
And one of all things.
You go to them for one of all things. To be able to get anything, you go to them for it. You have to go to them to be able to get a job. You have to go to them to be able to get anything that you want. To get a house, to get a car, you go to them. I was like, keep on.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
So that's it. Yeah, that's it.
You can go ahead in the class. I can read too.
Okay. All right. Right there. So do I have to read? I got a question about that too.
Okay, well, you want to ask questions after class? You still live right now.
This is the Isupk security announcements. We are the Isupk started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they're off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Find this in the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21, in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 through 10. Maishra means tenth in the Hebrew, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. I was like, that was my question. Do we have to say the Feast of Unleavened Bread too? Do we have to say the Feast of Unleavened Bread too? Oh, okay, cool. The Passover, 14th day of the first month, starts Saturday, April 1st, 2023. You can find this in the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 1 through 51, and the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 4 through 5, and the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 7 through 8, and the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 30, verse 17. And if anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirts, pants, headband, scarf. And this concludes the Isupk security announcements. Majum, which means to stand. Sorry. Which means to turn and face the east. We can read the Lord's Prayer in the last one of Kadash. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemai, Kodash, Ayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malatuka, Taba'ah, Ratzazayaka, Ayah, Aisha, Ba'aratiza, Kawa, Ayah, Bashamai, Natanana, Nakam, Ka, Yawam, Wasalakna, Kabawatna, Kasalakna, Kabawatiana, Walala, Abiyana, Banasai 1, Abal, Haishana, Mayan, Ra, Kaya, Naka, Amalakwa, Wahala, Watapara, Lami, Amen.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done
in earth
in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this day
our daily bread.
our daily bread.
Forgive us our debts,
Forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not
And lead us not
into temptation,
into temptation,
but deliver
but
us
deliver us
from evil.
from evil.
For thine is the
For
kingdom,
thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
So be it.
So be it. Turn your face to the front. Gonna give one courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah Barakatah. Yadi Matah. Gonna turn your face to Israel. Give one courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Shema Athar Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah. Yadi Matah. Class dismissed.